Kate, you've worked hard. He's saying he'll take responsibility and marry me, you know.
Despite knowing that he and I were dating and engaged, she brazenly stole him away. And when she said she was pregnant, what choice did I have but to step back? At the time, my fiancé had said he would take responsibility and marry her, but hearing that felt like I was dropped into hell in an instant. I had truly believed in him and in Sarah. Even after they got married, Sarah kept finding reasons to approach me. I can't stand seeing her face, but she keeps coming up with excuses to see me. And to top it off, an invitation to their wedding. As I stood there, shocked by the invitation, the elder son and his wife noticed and said something unexpected.
Lisa and I will go in your place.
We'll make a scene on your behalf. They both nodded with such confidence, I wondered what they were planning. On the day of the wedding, I was witness to a scene I never could have imagined. My name is Kate. I'm a 50-year-old preschool teacher. I usually work as a preschool teacher while living with my husband, John. John and I have one son, Tom, who recently got married. With his marriage, Tom moved out to live with his wife in the next town over, ending his time living at home. His wife, Lisa, and he seem to be enjoying their life together, which as a parent, makes me very happy. I haven't had many good memories related to marriage. In high school, I dated a classmate named Ben. We quickly grew close after discovering we both liked a band that was not widely known. Later, I went to junior college to get my preschool teaching license, and Ben went to university, but we continued our relationship smoothly, even promising to marry. However, I was oblivious to the dark shadow creeping closer to our wedding plans.
Hey, Kate. Are you listening?
Sorry. What was it?
Listen to this. At work the other day.
She is Sarah. Her demeanor had suddenly changed after becoming a working adult.
So, I was at work, and a client from sales tried to hit on me. It was such a hassle to turn him down. Isn't it because you're cute? How many times have you been hit on just this year?
Just from work contacts and clients, I've been asked out on dates like 30 times. Sarah's casual actions felt like watching a drama starring a famous actress.
You're cute, so be careful, okay?
I know. Kate, you worry too much. We've been close enough to hang out and have tea even after graduating high school, so she knows about my dating life.
Hey, how's your boyfriend doing?
We're planning to marry around the time Ben graduates from university. Oh, right. He's supposed to take over his family's office supplies business, so he'll work there as a trainee CEO after graduation. At that moment, I felt Sarah's expression change subtly.
We were in the same class, but I had no idea he came from a wealthy family. I only found out recently too. He doesn't talk much about his family owning a business.
Then Sarah looked over cautiously.
Doesn't talk much about it. He seemed low-key, but appearances can be deceiving.
Indeed.
Isn't it amazing that he's guaranteed to become a CEO in the future?
I think I spoke without thinking to Sarah. If we ever have a wedding, you have to come, promise?
Of course. I wouldn't miss it for the world.
Little did I know, this casual chat with my best friend would lead to something unimaginable. I'll never forget it was half a year after I turned 21, and it was raining that day. While busy working as a preschool teacher after graduating from junior college, I continued to hang out with Sarah whenever I found the time. Invited for tea as usual by Sarah, I sat at a windowside seat in a nearby cafe. Looking out the window, I saw a woman walking towards the cafe without an umbrella. It was unmistakably Sarah. She entered the cafe soaking wet and headed straight for my table. What happened? Forgot your umbrella? If you had called, I would have come to pick you up. Then, looking at my face, she seemed on the verge of tears. Kate, there's something I have to tell you today. She hesitated, as if unsure whether to speak. I'm pregnant. I knew Sarah was popular and many people approached her, but I had no idea she was in a relationship with anyone specific.
Are you kidding? Since when do you have someone to marry? Who is it? Someone I know?
Sarah nodded slowly, looking embarrassed. It's someone you know. It's... Sarah swallowed before revealing something unbelievable. It's Ben, the one you're dating. My memory is fuzzy from there. The shock was so great that it seems I lost part of my memory.
So you mean?
It seems the baby is a boy. Ben and his parents are happy, saying he will be the heir. Then Sarah looked at me and said with a mocking smile,
Kate, you've worked hard. He's saying he'll take responsibility and marry me, you know.
there's a baby involved. And Ben's parents are okay with it. Meaning, there's no role for me here. Sarah leaned in to say one last thing.
For his sake, and for the sake of his parents and the company, you better think carefully about your actions from now on.
She glanced between me and the cafe store. Meaning, I should leave quickly.
And make sure you don't contact Ben. He's getting married soon. Why? Ben? This must be some mistake, right? Don't casually call him Ben. There's no mistake. I won't forgive you if you stir up trouble.
Sarah's face was scarier than I'd ever seen it before. I didn't know she had this side to her.
Of course, I won't contact him anymore. I never thought you could do something like this. I wish you happiness. Thank you. Bye then.
Sarah went on to drink her tea with milk as if nothing had happened. I didn't have anything more to talk with Sarah. All that was left for me was to leave. The shock of suddenly being betrayed by my best friend and Ben, whom I was promised marriage, took a while to get over. I remember feeling like everything went dark in front of me. I tried going to see Ben and Sarah multiple times, but I knew nothing would change if I did. During those lowest moments, I met John, who was my age, through a friend's introduction. Thanks to John, my heart slowly started to heal, and at 24, we got married. Soon after, I got pregnant and gave birth to our son, Tom. I felt whole living with someone I could trust completely, and I had almost forgotten about Ben and Sarah. Around that time, after having Tom and taking maternity leave and parental leave, I was debating whether to return to work. Many people work nowadays, but I often hear that it's hard to find enough time to spend with their children because of work. However, considering future uncertainties and Tom's education expenses, working seemed like the best option. I discussed my return to work with the director after my parental leave, but the conclusion was that it might be difficult to work properly because of the gap. In the end, I asked the director and my colleagues to let me work full-time immediately after returning from parental leave. So I returned to work after taking maternity leave. Parental leave was 6 months, and it was hard to leave 0-year-old Tom and go back to work, but it was for the future. And for just in case something happened. It's 5 p.m., time for the parents to pick up the children. While I was sending off the children at the childcare center, I spotted someone familiar. The person was walking straight towards the childcare center. The moment I saw their face, I didn't want to meet them, but it was too late.
Long time no see. You're still working here, huh?
She looked me up and down with a mocking smile. I hadn't told her about meeting John, getting married, and having a child. Despite cutting off all contact with her because I didn't want to communicate anymore, I never expected Sarah to approach me.
Did you think we could make up? Don't get me wrong. I just happened to be passing by because I have dinner plans with Ben.
I felt something was a bit off about Sarah's story.
Dinner? Wait, what about the child you were pregnant with? Are they coming with your husband later?
My casual remark seemed to deeply upset Sarah.
Child? Stop it! Just stop!
Then, Sarah sat down, covering her ears. I wonder if I said something wrong. Parents coming to pick up their children started to look our way.
Sorry, I didn't mean to.
Sarah seemed to be crying. Her face was covered, but I could faintly hear her sniffling through the gaps. The stares from the parents coming to pick up their children were painfully sharp. Working as a preschool teacher, I've come to realize how terrifying rumors can be. A slight slip of the tongue by someone can spread among my coworkers, the parents, and even the grandparents by the next day. They probably think I said something terrible to one of the parents to make her cry. Just thinking about it gave me a headache. I had just returned to work after maternity and parental leave, and the last thing I wanted was for a strange rumor to make my job more difficult. But regardless of what was in my heart, the rumor spread rapidly. 3 days after meeting Sarah, over 90% of the people associated with the childcare center were avoiding me. Sarah has always been personable and persuasive, so most people tended to believe whatever she said. As a result, I had to endure painful stares from those around me for a while. A close coworker told me that I was being labeled as someone who had cornered a child's mother until she had nowhere to run and made her cry. My coworker tried to clear my name, But rumors spread fast, and Sarah's act of drawing sympathy made it hard for most people to believe me. Due to the rumors Sarah spread, I felt uncomfortable at the childcare center where I had worked since before my pregnancy and decided to resign. It seemed like the childcare center also found it troublesome to have a staff member around whom rumors circulated. When I announced my resignation, they readily accepted it. For a while, I was afraid to work and stayed home, but I decided to find a job again. For Tom's sake. Though we don't yet know which path Tom will choose in the future, we want to have enough money to fulfill any aspirations he might have. I thought it was better for me to work as well. Of course, there was also the possibility of Sarah suddenly appearing again, spreading rumors, or causing trouble. But I couldn't let that stop me. I worked for Tom's future. That was all I focused on, working tirelessly. John understood how I felt, saying,
"I'll do everything I can,"
and took the initiative to do more around the house. Most people said, "But you have your husband's salary," but I just laughed off those words. We did have John's salary, but thinking about Tom's future, it felt insufficient. Fortunately, I loved my job as a preschool teacher, so I was able to work without issues at a new childcare center. However, the thought of Sarah suddenly passing by my workplace made my chest tight at times. I fought my own traumas while working and managed to save a decent amount of money. Tom grew up to be not only kind-hearted but also very studious. Wanting to help those in distress, he aimed to become a doctor and successfully entered medical school. The tuition for medical school was higher than I imagined, but it was all for Tom's future. After numerous exams and internships, Tom became an obstetrician. He got a job at a well-regarded obstetrics hospital in the area, where he dedicates himself daily to his patients, always striving to become a better doctor. About a year ago, Tom married Lisa, who he had been dating since high school. She is calm but has a strong core and is self-assured. I felt joy that he married such a wonderful woman. Tom, happy to finally start a family with the woman he loved since high school, occasionally comes to visit us at home. One day, when Tom and Lisa came over, they brought a letter.
"Mom, this letter was in the post. It's addressed to you, right?"
The envelope in his hand was made of noticeably high-quality paper. Curious, I took it, only to see a name I wished not to see. My head spun as I read the characters indicating it was a letter from Sarah.
"Mom, are you okay?" "I'm fine."
I couldn't let myself collapse and worry Tom. I steeled myself and opened the envelope. Inside was an invitation and a letter. It seems Sarah was having a wedding ceremony. But her marrying the man she stole from me was a story from about 30 years ago. A wedding now, after all this time? As I pondered this, tilting my head, Tom and Lisa looked on.
"Isn't this a vow renewal?"
It made me realize again how much she knew about a world unknown to me. Vow renewal? What's that?
"It's like a redo of the wedding ceremony. Couples do it to mark a significant wedding anniversary."
Because we couldn't have a proper wedding ceremony back when we got married, it says. So, some people do that. Looking at the invitation made me feel weary. How long will she continue to cling to my life?
"Mom, you don't look so good. Are you okay?"
I'm fine. It's just someone from the past that I've had some issues with. Then, sensing it was no small matter, Lisa asked me.
"Could this person be?"
Yeah. It's not a big deal, but it feels suffocating.
It's impossible to say that someone who makes you feel suffocated just by seeing their name is not a big deal. Wait, this person.
Lisa seemed to ponder upon seeing Sarah's name. As if on cue, my mobile phone started ringing. Looking at the screen, it was an unknown number. A phone call that came just as I was reminded of Sarah gave me a bad feeling. Overwhelmed by the insistent ringing, I pressed the answer button. Hello.
"It's Sarah. Did you get it? The invitation. You're coming, right?"
Even without speakerphone, Sarah's shrill voice was audible to my son and his wife. Tom looked at me, mouthing and gesturing to ask who was on the phone. I pointed to the name on the envelope in my hand. Then, Tom scribbled something on a piece of paper and showed it to me. On it, he wrote, "Say you're going."
"Yes, I'll be there."
I knew you'd say that. You want to see your old flame thriving as a CEO, don't you? After a long series of unpleasant boasts, the call ended. Then, Tom and Lisa looked at each other and nodded.
"Lisa and I will go."
Lisa also nodded, pointing at the invitation with a smile.
We'll make a grand scene.
I had no idea what they were planning, but it seemed they had their own ideas. I decided to leave it to them. On the day of the wedding, Tom and Lisa went to attend as my proxies. It's being held at a famous venue often featured on TV and commercials, so it felt familiar. Its catchy slogan kept echoing in my ears. Choosing that venue was so like Sarah. Given Sarah, who always wants to be number one and envied by others, I had expected the venue to be somewhere with a lot of buzz. However, I've heard that holding a ceremony here could cost close to $100,000. It makes sense, given it's a favorite among celebrities. Thinking about this, I look up. I see the beautifully shining chandeliers, the high ceilings, and the spiral staircase. Each one of theme looked expensive. I had already coordinated with Lisa beforehand. John was curious about what a vow renewal ceremony looked like, so he decided to watch it with me. It felt strange, the two of us huddled over a small screen.
We'll video call you at the right moment, so you watch too.
Dressed up for the occasion, Lisa whispered through the camera. Her usual radiant smile was unchanged.
Sorry for making you go on my behalf, especially on your day off. Not at all. You've always been so kind to me. Besides, I knew something must be up for you to look that way when you never speak ill of others.
Lisa's keen intuition was apparent, no doubt honed by her experience in customer service.
We'll keep the video call going, so please watch.
John said he was going out to buy cigarettes and left. Perhaps sensing something unpleasant. Given that the eldest son and his wife made a point of showing it to me through a video call, they must have thought there was something significant about it. He's always had a sharp intuition, but this time, its acuteness deserves special recognition. Then, a memory movie of Sarah and my ex-boyfriend started playing. It covered how they met through a friend's introduction, how they quickly had a child together after starting to date, but for some reason, they were unable to have the child. Then, after a long time, they finally became pregnant again. The movie shared that their child is now a middle schooler, filled with happiness. Their child, who is graduating from middle school this year, is full of energy. The movie also introduced how exceptionally talented and socially active the child is, enjoying fulfilling days with many friends. The video, its content, and audio are clearly visible to me through Lisa's video call, but I wondered what would happen next. As the master of ceremonies wrapped up with emotional words, it seemed Lisa stood up. The view through the video call changed.
What a wonderful marriage life. And what a wonderful son you have.
Aren't you two Kates?
Yes, that's right. We're here on behalf of Kate. My husband, Tom, and I are attending.
Tom's small wave appeared at the edge of the camera. I had no idea where this was going. Then, Lisa started to say something unbelievable.
Such a wonderful son. But before teaching him to achieve excellent grades, isn't there something else he should be taught? What? What are you talking about all of a sudden? Speak clearly.
Lisa looked around. The crowd, driven by curiosity, whispered among themselves, but no one openly spoke up. Yet, the atmosphere began to stir at Lisa's words. Not just because of her clear voice, but seemingly for another reason.
I work in a restaurant, and dealing with your son has been really challenging. I always thought it was sad that he hasn't been taught proper manners or common sense.
Sarah blushed at Lisa's words.
Manners and common sense? Of course, I've taught him. What are you talking about? He crams unfinished food into the corners of the seats and puts his mouth directly on the condiment bottles. It's fine to have fun with friends, but do you think it's normal for a middle schooler to do such things? Stop making false accusations. My child would never do such a thing.
Lisa remained undeterred. Are you categorically saying your child didn't do it?
Well, you did just introduce him as such a wonderful son. Just the other day, he took all the toilet paper from the restroom, which was quite troublesome for us.
Lisa's face was smiling, but her eyes weren't. Sarah stubbornly refused to acknowledge, prompting Lisa to grab a tablet.
You've never seen how your son behaves outside, have you? This is from the security camera footage.
The tablet played audio of Sarah's son, presumably goofing around with his friends. It looked like he was attempting to chug the ketchup that was there in one go.
We had such a hard time after this.
We had to close the shop to disinfect everything. Middle schoolers should know right from wrong, yet chugging ketchup seems to be no big deal for him. Although Sarah's son wasn't present at the wedding, it was clear he was very ill-mannered and unreasonable.
That is fake audio. Stop this nonsense. I have footage showing the faces more clearly. Shall I play it here?
Realizing Lisa was serious, Sarah closed her mouth.
No, there's no need to show it to you here. I've submitted the footage and photos to someone who needed it. What do you mean by that? Explain. Your son, he's finished his high school entrance exams and decided on a school, right? He was talking loudly in the store, so it was easy to know.
Sarah's face went pale in an instant.
When I mentioned it to the high school, they said such behavior was not suitable for their school, and that some form of action would likely be taken. You'll probably be hearing from them soon. What? Are you threatening me? Stop this nonsense. Well, we'll see when the time comes. Maybe you should ask your son for details?
Then, Tom stood up.
Earlier in your video, you mentioned there was a time you got pregnant but couldn't have the baby. It seems it happened when you were quite young.
Sarah nodded towards Tom. Yes, that's right. When I was 20, I couldn't meet my baby because I was unaccustomed to pregnancy and pushed myself too hard. It's painful, so I'd rather not talk about it. Tom didn't miss Sarah's voice getting softer.
That's strange. There's no evidence you were pregnant around that time. What are you talking about?
Whispers started spreading among the attendees, one by one.
So, she never had a child to begin with? I had a feeling. It all makes sense now.
Voices freely expressed their thoughts.
You've been seeing a gynecologist for some issues for the past few years, right? According to your medical records and examinations, there's no evidence you were ever pregnant. Strange, isn't it?
The room filled with voices blaming and criticizing Sarah.
It seems you chose to marry the man my mom was dating. I've heard from a source.
Sarah, displeased, started yelling, ignoring Tom's words.
Don't mind such fabricated stories. Security, please remove these people.
However, no one made a move. Instead, the criticisms against Sarah only grew louder. The participants started to murmur. So, she lied about being pregnant to get married?
The whole thing about having an heir was a lie. Who you marry is none of my business. But using pregnancy as a reason to snatch someone away really makes me question your character. Like mother, like son. A son who takes toilet paper and a mother who takes her friend's boyfriend. You're quite the pair.
While Lisa spoke, the video call stayed connected, clearly showing Sarah shaking as she faced Tom and Lisa. It was no longer about the wedding. Some of the attendees seemed to be uploading videos to social media in real time, saying,
Got a comment.
I'm getting reactions.
I can't believe so many people are watching this, it's hilarious.
Their conversation is audible even through the smartphone. The surrounding area was buzzing. The uploaded videos were stirring up discussions on social media about Sarah's pitiful state. The murmurs grew louder, and the looks thrown at Lisa and others became more scornful. Some classmates openly taunted Sarah. She's always had terrible taste in men.
I knew she was trouble. Thinking she can do anything because she's cute, growing up to be such an embarrassment.
Voices like that are coming from all around. Eventually, the wedding turned into something like a grand exposure of Sarah's misdeeds. The way everyone spontaneously started sharing episodes of her outrageous behavior turned the event into something far removed from what one would expect of a wedding, showcasing a spectacle of her character. Ben looked on, bewildered, as Sarah was subjected to such blame and criticism. Yet, he didn't say anything to his wife, Sarah, behaving as if it was someone else's concern. Perhaps it's better to say he didn't want to get involved. It was a strangely detached attitude. Normally, one would expect a husband to take some action if his wife was in a tight spot, but Ben was acting as if he were a bystander. Come to think of it, he acted similarly when he was dating me, which brought back a peculiar sense of nostalgia. Lisa kept the video call going, occasionally focusing the camera on Sarah's frustrated expressions, as if trying to capture her emotions. As I watched, thinking it was rare to see such expressions on her face, people started to gather around. It seemed that many had suffered from Sarah's actions and behavior over time, as voices filled with resentment could be heard from all around. Complaints ranged from not returning borrowed money, spreading strange rumors, to being fed expired snacks. Because everyone freely aired their grievances, the event no longer resembled a wedding.
What, do you all want to ruin my party?
Sarah's friends at their table made uncomfortable faces as they left. It seemed Sarah had insisted they attend.
This is why I didn't want to come. But she insisted so much, and now look what happened.
These comments were audible through the video call. The venue steadily emptied, leaving only a few in the family and friends sections. Then, Lisa spoke to me.
Looks like the party is over. The venue staff are heading this way.
I figured as much. From here, it looks like the seats are pretty empty.
Could you tell? It's unbelievable how many people were here earlier. Looks like they're discussing something with the staff.
Saying that, Lisa adjusted the angle of the smartphone. The camera panned to show Sarah, Ben, and the venue staff. As the man who Sarah took from me under the false pretense of pregnancy, an unforgettable man, both in the past and in the future. When we were dating and had promised to get married, I genuinely believed there was no one else as wonderful as him. I had been completely taken with his looks and character. Now, however, there was no trace of the man I once admired. His appearance had changed significantly, likely doubling in weight and with much fewer hair. He had taken over his father's company but looked as if he couldn't manage himself, let alone a business.
Ben seems to be discussing something. Take a look.
The smartphone screen showed a close-up of Ben and the venue staff in conversation. What are they doing? It looks like most people have left the ceremony.
Oh.
The focus shifted to Ben. He seemed to be apologizing deeply, with only his voice of relentless apologies audible. From the background, I could hear about the payment for this ceremony, indicating a dispute over the payment.
I overheard some of the leaving guests saying Ben's company is on the verge of bankruptcy, and he's been borrowing money everywhere.
Really? But I saw advertisements around town. It didn't seem like the business was doing that poorly.
Apparently, Sarah's lavish lifestyle and the costs for their child's tutoring consumed all their money. Despite spending so much, their son can only cause trouble in stores, which is a shame.
Guests who had been appalled by Sarah's behavior merely looked down, but they got up and hurried toward the exit without a word, likely wanting to avoid any confrontation with Sarah. The idea that a wedding could devolve into this state before its conclusion was unheard of. Prompted by a sudden thought, I asked Lisa for a favor. Sorry, but there's something I want to say to the person apologizing over there. Could you point the camera towards him?
Sure.
After explaining the situation to the venue staff, Lisa seemed to have connected the call to Ben. The screen now showed Ben directly facing me.
It's been a while.
Kate, it is you. What have I done? Ben averted his eyes from the phone as he spoke. I was forced to marry Sarah because she said she was pregnant. I always wanted to marry you, Kate. Do you remember our promise? It's not too late, is it?
What are you talking about all of a sudden? Forced? You chose that yourself, even if it was based on an obvious lie. Did you think I'd sympathize?
Ben appeared shocked, standing frozen.
Playing the victim now? Cheated, you say? You cheated first, got married, and now you say it's not your fault because you were lied to? Doesn't that seem absurd to you? You haven't changed. That's why I loved you, Kate.
I felt a chill. In the end, Ben was someone who sought to maintain his victim status and failed miserably in his attempts at deceit.
Still living in the past? This party? Wedding? This is just a redo of the wedding. How long will you be bound by the past? But you loved me enough to want to marry me, right? Couldn't you lend me some money? What era are you living in? You should worry about your own future. I'm certainly not lending you money.
I ended the call there. Ben must have been shocked on the other end. That's just his character. But that's no concern of mine. Ultimately, Sarah's wedding ended with payment being deferred, but financially struggling, she was forced to work. However, with little work experience, Sarah's attempt at employment was unsuccessful. Despite this, she remained prideful and frequently complained. It seemed like she frequently changed part-time jobs, garnering a reputation for being unreliable. Compounding their troubles, I heard from acquaintances that their boastful son's high school admission was revoked. The spread of videos showing his disruptive behavior caused an uproar, affecting not only the intended high school and his middle school but also online forums and news sites. Moreover, Ben's business struggled with worsening financial woes, casting a shadow over the company every time I passed by. Witnessing one misfortune after another befall someone else felt surreal. Then, in an unexpected twist, Sarah joined the childcare center I work at as a cleaner. Her uniform was emblazoned with the cleaning company's logo, her expression sour. I dislike even saying Sarah's name, so I've decided to treat her as a complete stranger.
You're the new cleaner starting today, right? What? What's with that pretentious attitude? It's your fault I'm in this mess.
I didn't rise to her provocation. Instead, I calmly informed her of a fact.
I'm in charge of overseeing the cleaning services. If your work attitude is found to be significantly lacking, I will contact the cleaning company.
Sensing trouble, Sarah initially shut her mouth but quickly began yelling something unbelievable loudly.
I know you're trying to mess up my life. Saying stuff about stealing my fiancé and all. Your accusations are just baseless, lashing out.
Saying this, she threw the broom she was holding. The moment I saw that, I contacted the cleaning company, and then she was immediately informed of her termination. It seems that due to her poor reputation and lackluster cleaning skills, it had already been decided that if another complaint was made and she did not show remorse, she would be terminated immediately. It seemed Sarah would likely repeat this pattern elsewhere. I moved past annoyance to almost feeling sorry for her. I continue to work at the childcare center. Since that day, Sarah has stopped following me around, and I'm enjoying peaceful days without her interference. John has been incredibly supportive, especially when work keeps me busy. Even improving his culinary skills, making mealtime something to look forward to. Recently, Tom shared some joyful news.
Mom, can I talk to you for a sec?
What is it? You sound happy.
Can you tell? Lisa's pregnant. We might become parents by the end of the year.
Wrapped in indescribable joy, I responded.
Really? What wonderful news! I'm so happy, I wanted to tell you first.
I'm truly delighted. Lisa must be starting to experience morning sickness around now. I feel sorry for making her talk when she's not feeling well, so let's celebrate properly when she's better. A baby is going to be born to Tom and Lisa. Thinking about it fills me with excitement. There were times in my youth when I became reckless and didn't care what happened after my fiancé, whom I loved, was taken by my best friend. But now, I live surrounded by wonderful people. This fact becomes the driving force that makes me want to live life looking forward again.